niet eensaam staan jy staan. Jy is altyd daar. Dit wat ons doen, ons liefdes, ons vreugdes, ons plekke, ons thuistes, tot daar waar ons reis, jy is daar. Afrikaans is ons wese. Dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sy, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Al verander straatname, al word helde laat val, ons is steeds deur ons adem, ons kultuur, ons verhaal, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese. Dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sy, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Ons is daarmee gebore, die taal waarvoor ons staan, dit vloei deur ons are, ons kinders praat het saam, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese. Dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sy, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is. Dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sy, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir my mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense.
Afrikaans for ons mense, Afrikaans for my mense. Well, folks, Afrikaans for our people, Afrikaans for my people. Giselle singing her trademark song, Afrikaans. Welcome back to the program. Been a busy day here so far in the program with an interview of Athol Trollop, the chairman for the Action SA Party in the Eastern Cape, and then also a conversation with Donald Brown, a referendum party candidate in the Western Cape. So there you go. Eastern Cape, Western Cape, talked about this morning. Let me say hello to everybody in the chat. We're going to get into the news. I have a bit of a headache, and I have a medical appointment later today. So I'll continue to try to drive on and push on, but it's been bothering me immensely for the past few hours. Pierre Orban here at the outset. Thank you for being here. And my timestamps are missing again. This stupid software. Graham is back. Welcome, Graham. Ance is here. Gavin Comer, Hendo is back again. The scientist, George Steinberg, in from Heckport. Charles Van Onselen. Nick Groves. Nick, I didn't get a chance to salute you for your longevity membership. Thank you for that. That was a just-in-time. Okay. And Gabriel in Switzerland, if I recall correctly. Arctic is back once again. Busy flying restricted airspace, no doubt. Paying attention to us. Good to see you again. And then Val Cooper's back. Ulrich Fenter, almost missed you there. And whom else have I missed here? I already got Nick Groves. Deborah Olivier, welcome to see you again. And then starting her up, any news on Giselle's health? Yeah, she's doing okay. Heard from her about a week or so ago. I haven't checked since then. 4 streams today. Well, there. Did I do 4? Is it that many? No, I did a prepared video earlier. It wasn't a stream. So do I have another stream? I got to double check and see what's going on here. So today we've done, let's see, we did Athol Trollop, Donald Brown, this, no, and I did also a video earlier, which is not getting a lot of traction. My videos don't get found by people much anymore. 278 views on that one. Yeah, that was about, I was reading the comments from Nehemiah Fredericks, who was commenting on yesterday's interview. So, yep. Yeah, 3+1 video. That's correct. Yep. Consider it a, what's that? A senescence. Okay. Oh, a seance. It's always trying to say a seance message. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's get back to it. I've done 4 broadcasts in one day before. I've done 5, I think, and maybe even 6 once. It's very tiring. But anyway, you cover the news. Let me take a look and see if any news has come in. We covered earlier this story about a building collapsing in George. Let me look and see if there's been any updates. People trapped, injured after building under construction collapse. Yep. So let's take a look at that very quickly here, folks, and give you an update on that horrific situation in George in the Western Cape. Excuse me. So this is what was taking place at about 2 o'clock, 10 minutes after earlier today. People trapped and injured after building under construction collapses in George. The building under construction has collapsed in Victoria Street in George in the Western Cape. According to a reliable source, this is from earlier, 59 people believed to be trapped after the collapse this afternoon. The extent of injuries is not clear. CCTV footage in the vicinity shows the building collapsed around 2:09 with a huge cloud of dust billowing upwards. Municipal Communication Manager Chantel Edwards-Cloza confirmed that multiple people were injured. Emergency services were on site, and the municipality said that the road had been closed to allow ambulances to enter due to multiple patients. Georgia Municipality spokesperson Notobeko Manakakwakwe said it is a building next to the municipality. The structure was about 4 to 5 story building. It looked like a block of flats. At the moment, we don't have the exact number of injuries. Our emergency personnel and local ambulances are on site. That's the same information I shared with you a couple hours ago. Edwards-Cloza said the municipal disaster services and several other stakeholders are currently busy with a building collapse on Victoria Street. Should any member of the public wish to provide drinking water, Lucozade, wine gums, or any food for the services while they're on site, they must please deliver them via Ivy Street at 79 Victoria Street, Delpan Consulting. Municipal office will be on hand in front of the building to collect any contributions and distribute to the service officials. The municipality opened the foyer of the main municipal hall to accommodate family members of the construction team who were on site at the time of the incident. Herman Peters of the Garden Route District Municipality said firefighters were dispatched to assist. Gift of the Givers representative in George, Mario Ferreira, said the team arrived about 2 hours after the collapse. Ferreira said 4 people were removed and rushed to hospital. Rescue teams are battling to remove more injured persons from the rubble. We don't know the reason for the collapse. It's a 5-story building collapsed while workers were inside. They've arranged a soup kitchen, and the rescue team is on standby in Cape Town waiting to be called. Western Cape government is closely monitoring and will be sending resources to assist the emergency response. Premier Alan Winde and relevant provincial ministers were being briefed on the incident. All the necessary support has been offered to emergency personnel to expedite the process. Now officials are focusing on saving lives. This is our top priority. We urge the public to allow emergency service officials the space to carry out their duties and not put their own lives at risk by traveling to the site. And look at this photograph of emergency service and people on the scene. Apparently South Africa is an all-white nation again. It looks like virtually everyone there is a white South African, except for the one lady who are involved in trying to rescue these people. Interesting, isn't it? You can find groups of people providing public services that are all white. So that is the situation. We did show the video earlier today. Let me see if I can find that very quickly. So let me get rid of this. I've got a bunch of videos piled up here. Close that one. That's what I'm looking for. So this is the video of the collapse from earlier today. This is about a 14-second video. And if you look in this video, in the distance under the overhang from the carport here, you will see the building actually collapse. It looks dark because it's in the shadows, but then you'll see it collapse and the dust cloud come up here. This video was released earlier today from CCTV from a neighboring site next to the construction site in George. So here we go. Watch as it collapses. 2:09 and 15 seconds. There it goes. Wow. During the workday, when obviously a lot of workers were there, shocking situation developing in George where this building has collapsed, and at least 59 people, according to media reports, are originally trapped in the building, with 4 of them having been evacuated. Presumably that takes the number down to just 55 now. BNP Bank is pulling out of South Africa. Any news? No, I haven't seen that. Haven't seen that. The Independent Electoral Commission says there's no basis for Jacob Zuma to demand the recusal of Concord justices. Yeah, well, of course there's no basis, but this is the game plan of the octogenarian fossil, always demanding that people are persecuting him because he is who he is, attacking black jurists as well as white jurists. The Electoral Commission of South Africa says there's no basis for Jacob Zuma's demand the Constitutional Court justices who sentenced him to 15 months for contempt to be recused for deciding whether he can be elected to Parliament. In heads of argument filed in the Constitutional Court this afternoon, the IEC said the only pleaded basis given by Zuma and his Umkhonto Sizwe party for the 5 justices to recuse themselves was that they are bound to seek to interpret their own previous decision to sentence Zuma to a jail term. Judges do that all the time. And besides, this appeal does not require any interpretation of the Zuma contempt judgment. There's no debate that this court convicted and sentenced Mr. Zuma. The only debate is whether Mr. Zuma is disqualified to stand as a candidate for the National Assembly under Section 47, Paragraph 1, subsection E. There's no reason why this court, a court of careful conscience and intellectual discipline, cannot impartially answer the legal question. Exactly right. And Jacob Zuma is ineligible to serve in government. Well, on again, off again, the ANC's disciplinary hearing. The cowards in the ANC from Luthuli House are fearful of a backlash like we saw in 2021 if they discipline Jacob Zuma for dismissing and violating the party standards. Well, they're cowards. That's the ANC. They're not even going to do a virtual hearing now. Look at that cackling hyena, Jacob Zuma. The ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula has dismissed reports of a virtual disciplinary hearing planned for the former president. It was supposed to happen yesterday. Reports of the virtual hearing for tomorrow followed earlier reports that the hearing had been postponed. A new letter purportedly sent directly to Zuma by the Office of National Disciplinary Committee Chairperson Ralph Majima stated that a virtual meeting would take place on Tuesday, but now apparently it's not. Sunday, Mbalula told journalists in Joburg that even the virtual hearing was not going to happen. They'll do it after the election because they are, by definition, cowards. Cowards. He should have been disciplined 6 months ago by the party. Mistakes of law. Supreme Court of Appeals overturns Judge Halope's acquittal of Bongani Bongo and orders a retrial. In February 2021, when Western Cape Judge President John Halope acquitted Bongani Bongo of corruption without requiring him to answer to evidence that the former ANC member of parliament had tried to bribe him to halt or collapse Parliament's ESCOM inquiry. 2 months later, Halope was found guilty himself of impeachable gross misconduct for trying to influence Justices Bess Nkabinde and Chris Jafta to rule in favor of then ANC President Jacob Zuma back in 2008. On February 21st, 2024, Halope was removed from his office after 91% of the members of parliament, including Bongo, voted in support of his impeachment. On Monday, his acquittal of Bongo was overturned by the Supreme Court of Appeal. Wow, poor Mr. Bongo. You're going to have to go back to court, buddy. In a unanimous ruling written by acting Judge John Smith, the Supreme Court of Appeal found that there were reasonable prospects that Bongo would have been convicted of either the main or alternative charges mentioned in the indictment if the mistakes of law had not been made. Wow, so much for double jeopardy. Apparently that doesn't apply in South Africa. If the court screws up, they can come back and get you in a second bite. That seems to me to be wrong, even if the guy is guilty of corruption. Well, the African National Congress is counting on voters in traditional strongholds like the Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga, Northwest, and Northern Cape to push them over the finish line to 50 plus 1%. The problem for the ANC is that people in those places are often just as fed up with the ANC as the rest of us are. So Business Day says, according to the latest Ipsos poll, which we've talked about, ANC support is down to 40%, with MK getting over 8%. But the ANC is pinning its hopes on the Eastern Cape to help claw back the votes it expects to lose as a result of supporters throwing their weight behind MK. It's also looking at Limpopo and Mpumalanga, which are among the provinces it considers its strong voting bases, to pull through a majority. MK party is imploding, which is not surprising, it says Ntuli Mudubasini Ntuli, who is a spokesperson for the ANC. We knew this was not an organization that would have huge impact on the election campaign as it was anticipated. Well, in fact, regardless of what happens, the MK is having an impact. Another horrific farm murder as human beings butchered needlessly by scum South African criminals. The Freedom Front Plus has identified the LA couple who were brutally murdered on a farm near Glen in the Free State. A manhunt is currently underway to track down the suspects who reportedly killed 76-year-old Christo Morrison and his 73-year-old wife, Krista, on Friday. The murder was brutal as the body of Christo was found 300 meters away from the farmhouse with open wounds to his upper body, while his wife's body was found in a septic tank. Threw her into sewage. Police spokesperson Sergeant Mahamalol Karilli said a concerned neighbor contacted police when he could not reach the couple on their cell phones Saturday. He said on arrival at the farm, police discovered the doors of the house were left open, covered in blood and ransacked. Tools and electronic equipment were stolen from the house before the killers fled in the couple's Toyota Land Cruiser. The vehicle was found burnt out on Winnie Mandela, formerly known as Brandfort. Provincial leader for the Freedom Front Plus in the Free State, Jan van Niekerk, said the attack was brutal and needless. No arrests have been made. 2 more innocent South Africans needlessly murdered. And, of course, we'll have to hear the nonsense from the race-hustling scumbags who go, well, farm murders are not special. No. Why do you murder a 76-year-old and 73-year-old wife? What threat are they to you? None. This is an intentional effort to destroy a population group. Shameful and disgraceful conduct. Another farm murder. 2 farm murders in South Africa. Farmers who sued the government of South Africa over the intrusion of Jacob Zuma into the Southern African Development Community Tribunal have lost their case. A sympathetic judge orders no cost against the farmers after a years-long case. South African and Zimbabwean farmers' case in their years-long attempt to sue the South African government for the 2 billion rand has been dismissed by the Constitutional Court. The farmers had claimed that former President Jacob Zuma's decisions at the 2014 Southern African Development Community Summit led to them being unable to claim compensation for losing farms to Zimbabwe's thieves. In 2009, the SADC tribunal ruled in the farmers' favor and ordered the Zimbabwe government to pay compensation. However, years later, the tribunal's powers were, according to the farmers, deliberately extinguished by a joint action in which then-President Jacob Zuma was a co-perpetrator. In 2018, the Concord declared Zuma's part in gutting the tribunal as unconstitutional. The court at the time said Zimbabwe created a plan that stripped the tribunal of much of its powers. Yeah, but the court dismisses the case so taxpayers won't have to pay for Jacob Zuma's crimes. BHP bombshell has put South African mining in a hole. So, the $140 billion Australian group's ambitious swoop on rival Anglo-American would see the Rainbow Nation's most familiar companies, one of the largest, withdrawn from the country more than 100 years after it was founded. Can the government stop the $39 billion transaction? No, they can't. South African officials have proposed a mixed reception. Gwede Mantashe said he wouldn't support the deal, but Ramaphosa described the approach as normal market activity, which is correct. In reality, Pretoria has a host of reasons to be awkward. South African mining is in decline as a contribution of GDP. It has fallen from 21% of GDP in 1980 to just 7.5% in 2023. 21% of South Africa's GDP in 1980 was a result of mining. Last year, 7.5%. Country's platinum, diamonds, gold, coal, and iron ore are not integral materials to the all-important energy transition, which is something I've been telling you for ages. And also I wrote in my recent article, it is not a drawing card. It's not part of the energy transition. Corruption scandals of state enterprises like Eskom and freight carrier Transnet have led to frequent electricity blackouts and problems for miners trying to get shipments out of the country. Absolutely the case. Anglo-American founded in Johannesburg in 1917 is going to be bought out, most likely, it looks like. The VIP unit that assaulted members of the South African National Defense Force while escorting Paul Mashatile and then lying about it. Families are seeking justice as Mashatile's guards accused of assault appear in court, and all of them are hiding their faces. But they didn't hide their faces when they beat the living crap out of members of the military on that fateful day in Johannesburg. 8 cops attached to Deputy President Mashatile's VIP unit are back in court, accused of assaulting a motorist on the N1, an incident that was caught on camera. Family members were seen nervously waiting for the matter to be called up in the Randburg Magistrates Court. 8 officers from the VIP unit entrusted with guarding him returned to the court. Their alleged misconduct, captured on camera in July of last year, shocked the nation as they were seen assaulting motorists along Johannesburg's N1 highway. It shouldn't shock anybody. This is the conduct of these clowns all the time. In court on Monday, family members of one of the 4 victims were in attendance. They sat nervously waiting the court proceedings commence. Their son was one of 4 SANDF trainees who the VIP officers assaulted on the day. I'm dead inside, a family friend supporting them added. I just want to see justice so that other people learn from this. Shadrach, Mohalekane Kohiana, Johannes Matebe Mamputu, Pomzo Joseph Mofakeng, Harmans Madumecha Ramakobonomi, Phineas Molofe Bosilo, Churchill Mamakasena Makizi, Lisibane Agri Rambal, and Moses Fatuani Chidada are all charged with assault. Given the fact that these thugs are identified by name, why aren't their faces exposed in court? Cowards. Cowards. They face 12 charges, including allegations of pointing a firearm, reckless and negligent driving, malicious damage to property, assault with the intent to cause grievous bodily harm, obstruction of justice, and assault by way of threat, all of which they obviously committed. December News 2024 reported that Ulrich Rue attorneys on behalf of the clients Julian Milan, Lucien Aventur, Talon Bezuidenhout were claiming $3 million in compensation for unlawful, vicious, and malicious assault. I think they should get $30 million, or maybe $300 million, not $3 million. $3 million's a joke. Milan is a Navy seaman in the South African National Defense Force. Aventur is a student military police officer in training. Bezuidenhout is a student in the National Ceremonial Guard. Yep. It's alleged that their VW Polo was overtaken by a black BMW X5. It's not alleged. We saw the footage. Stop the alleging. These cowardly newspapers, we saw the footage. Unless they weren't the people present. A German has been arrested at Joburg involved in human trafficking, smuggling women by luring them through a dating site. A German man arrested O.R. Tambo for allegedly attempting to traffic 2 women via South Africa to Croatia. The 56-year-old appeared in the Kempton Park Magistrates Court on Friday on charges of trafficking people. He was arrested in a joint police team led by West Rand Hawks, working with Interpol. He was intercepted while trying to board a flight to Croatia with 2 Malagasy women aged 32 and 29 who he was trying to traffic into the sex trade, obviously. Well, wow. How can they solve crimes like that, but they can't protect South Africans from the brutal murders that take place every day? Hey, remember that idiotic craze, that rage for Prime, the water? It's just frickin' water, folks. But everybody had to have it. Oh, 100 Rand for a bottle, 500 Rand for a bottle. Yeah, guess what? Now it's 10 Rand a bottle and as low as 3 Rand as they try to get rid of this crap. Prime Hydration, the energy drink that is endorsed by celebrity YouTubers, is now selling for 10 Rand and as low as 3 Rand per bottle. Oh my goodness. Buy any 5 for 50 Rand. Here you go. Prime. Crap. Checkers announced it was bringing Prime to South Africa in April for $39.99. It created a massive buzz. At the time, there was so much hype around the drink that some schools sent out letters banning it on their premises. Not all retailers have dropped their prices. Take-A-Lot is still selling a 500 milliliter bottle of strawberry and watermelon for 119 Rand. Product is under scrutiny in the United States regarding Prime containing excessive amounts of caffeine. Well, there you go. There you go. Prime. What a joke that was. Well, the Springboks dominate South Africa's sports awards with lots of awards going, including Newcomer of the Year goes to Mani Libok. Other awards include Administrator of the Year Mark Alexander for South African Rugby, Sportsman of the Year Eben Etzebeth, Sportsman of the Year with a Disability Mpumalanga Mulongo for the South African Sport Association for Physically Disabled. Sportswoman of the Year is Kirsten Neuschafer, Sailing South Africa. And Simone Kruger is the Sportswoman of the Year with a Disability. Team of the Year of the Springboks, Newcomer of the Year Mani Libok, Coach of the Year Jacques Nienaber. Wow, the list goes on and on and on. National Federation of the Year, South African Rugby Union. And wow, People's Choice of the Year, Sia Khaleesi. There you go. Congratulations to the Springboks for all those awards and to others as well. 3 West Air Aviation employees die in a crash in Namibia. 3 West Air Aviation employees were killed and one of the company's light aircraft crashed in Windhoek on Friday. In a statement, the company confirmed that one of its airframes had crashed at 5 p.m. Friday shortly after takeoff from Eros Airport, claiming the lives of the 3 employees. They've launched an investigation into the crash. Sad news. Botswana and the government of Eric Masisi, Mokwetse Eric Masisi, seeking to continually undermine the reputation and the authority of former President Ian Khama, in interest of full disclosure, a guest on this program on a couple occasions. Wow. Botswana's Minister of Local Government says former President Ian Khama can't approach the courts because he's a fugitive. Yeah, with a fraudulent warrant over his head. He's trying to install his cousin Peter Khama as the chief of the tribe that he's been in charge of since 1979. Khama argues that he's chief of the Bangmanwato and therefore entitled to select someone to act in his stead, and he is 100% correct. He is 100% correct. Since last year, the former president has been pushing for the removal of his uncle Saragola Seretse as the acting regent of the Bangmanwato tribe to make his cousin Peter Khama the tribal chief. Seretse has been the chief since the expulsion of Sedegeng Kagamane in 2022. Khama has been living in exile since 2022. He's understood to be in Eswatini, having moved from South Africa last year. He wants to install Peter because he cannot execute his duties since he's out of the country. He says, although I'm recognized as the Kosi of the Bangmanwato tribe, I am, at the moment, unable to take up the functions of that office. According to the Bogosi Act of 2008, Khama has the right to choose who should act in his stead as long as they are from the royal family, both nuclear and extended. However, the government is accusing him of being ineligible to choose that. In opposing court papers, local government minister Kotla Otluezi said Khama had been a fugitive since February 24th of this year and was therefore not entitled to invoke processes of the courts in Botswana. He argued that Khama was approaching this honorable court with unclean hands and the court cannot be seen conniving with or condoning his conduct. This criminal regime that is attacking the former president on the basis of nothing but their fabricated stories is shameful. Ian Khama is a reputable gentleman, and the behavior of his successor, Eric Masisi, is what should be in question. Liberia is moving to create a war crimes court decades after the Civil War. Until now, key players have blocked the establishment of a court that could hold them accountable for atrocities like murder, rape, and torture. And among those are folks like Prince Johnson, who doesn't want this court to take place. Liberia's president signed executive order establishing a war crimes court, the culmination of a decades-long effort to bring justice to victims of the country's two civil wars, which killed an estimated 250,000 people from 1989 to 2003. Wow, President Boakai has finally signed this legislation. Many Liberians have been waiting for this day for a long time. Don't expect too much to come from it, folks. Chad voting in their first presidential poll since a wave of coups swept across Sahel. In N'Djamena, Chadians go to the polls 3 years after their military leader seized power. That was yesterday, in the first presidential election in Africa's Sahel region since a wave of coups. Analysts say that Mahamat Idris Deby, who seized power after his father was killed, is most likely to win, although his chief opponent has been drawing larger than expected crowds on the campaign trail. There he is, transitional president and candidate Mahamat Idris Deby. Country run by the Debys for a long time. Well, the Israeli military calls for people to get the hell out of Rafah. It calls for evacuations from eastern Rafah ahead of a planned offensive. Here you see soldiers on an Israeli tank advancing. Israel's military said Monday that people in eastern parts of Rafah should go to what the military called an expanded humanitarian area that now includes Khan Yunis, in a move that comes ahead of a planned Israeli offensive in Rafah. IDF spokesperson posting on social media in Arabic said the Israeli military will act forcefully against terrorist organizations in Rafah and that anyone who's in the area will be putting their lives at risk. Israel is preparing a limited scope operation in Rafah. Well, get out, folks. The Philippines and the United States repel mock foreign invaders in their annual military exercises. U.S. and Philippine armed forces fired missiles and artillery to thwart a simulated invasion of the Philippines' northern waters facing Taiwan on Monday in a show of military force and strengthening ties as regional tensions increase. 200 soldiers took turns defending the shores of the coastal city of Laong in Licos province, launching javelin missiles and firing howitzers and machine guns to repel an unnamed enemy trying to storm the beach. An unnamed enemy, China. The annual drills, which involve 16,000 Filipino-American troops and began last month, will run until May 10th. They come at a time of escalating tensions between the Philippines and the communist Chinese in the South China Sea. In India, the world's largest election is about to take place. 970 million voters may go to the polls, folks. In sweltering heat, India's summer election schedule exposes 1 billion voters and thousands of candidates to extreme heat. As the world's biggest elections get underway in India, candidates to national office will need to beat something more perilous than political rivals: extreme heat. The India Meteorological Department has warned that during this year's elections, which started last week and runs until early June, most parts of the country will face higher than usual temperatures and potentially twice as many extreme heat days. 970 million voters, 15 million poll workers, and searing temperatures that could reach 120 degrees in parts of the country. Wow. The elections themselves are a feat of endurance. Staggered elections throughout a country. 970 million people will vote. Election officials here taking electronic voting machine by horseback to a remote mountain village in the north of India. It's just crazy, folks. Look at all those people resting under a tree in the hot weather in India. Russia announces nuclear drills. What the heck? Military exercise involving tactical nuclear weapons to be held after top European leaders indicating deepening backing for Ukraine. Idiots like Macron. Emmanuel Macron threatening to send French troops to Ukraine is pushing Russia to exercise its nuclear tactical forces. The Kremlin said Monday the military exercise ordered by President Putin were in response to statements by Western and NATO member countries about sending troops to Ukraine, which Russia invaded more than 2 years ago. They will include practice for the preparation and deployment of non-strategic nuclear weapons intended to increase the readiness to fulfill combat tasks after provocative statements and threats of certain Western officials. My goodness. My goodness. This is provocative and dangerous on the part of Macron. Germany has recalled its ambassador from Russia after a series of cyber attacks. Germany has recalled its ambassador to Russia in protest against a series of cyber attacks. Berlin recalled Alexander Graf Lambsdorff yesterday, 3 days after accusing Moscow of cyber attacks on the governing SPD and the country's defense, aerospace, and IT companies. The envoy's return was ordered just a day before the inauguration of Vladimir Putin. The ambassador has been called back for consultations and will stay in Berlin for a week and then return to Moscow. So Germany will not be represented at Putin's inauguration for his 6-year term in office. Well, there you have it. Germans. The death toll in southern Brazil continues to rise. 78 now known to have perished. Death toll from heavy rains that have caused flooding in Brazil's southern state of Rio Grande do Sul have risen to at least 78. President Luiz Ignacio Lula da Silva arrived in Rio Grande do Sul on Sunday with most members of his cabinet to discuss rescue and reconstruction efforts with local authorities. Bureaucracy will not stand in our way, stopping us from recovering the state's greatness, says Lula. Yeah, okay, the corrupt convicted felon who now runs Brazil. Going to save you. Documents expose Joe Biden's regime's corruption in defrauding Americans of their First Amendment rights. Yep, we told you this was happening. Here's proof of it. Documents reveal Biden's pressure campaign to censor Facebook, YouTube, and Amazon. YouTube, Facebook, and Amazon were frustrated in early 2021 by the Biden regime's pressure to censor and demote content related to Rona jabs and the origins of the Wuhan flu. The platforms ultimately removed and demoted posts and other content and collaborated with the White House on company censorship policy proposals. The Biden White House censorship campaign was so intrusive that big tech felt the need to run policy proposals by them, said Jim Jordan. Wow. The report details the coerced collaboration between social media administrations soon after Biden took office. In July 2021, email Rob Flaherty, Mr. Biden's director of digital strategy, pushed YouTube executives to more aggressively censor content that questioned the safety of COVID vaccines. White House flagged content featuring Robert Kennedy and a clip of Senator Ryan Paul speaking at a congressional hearing about the vaccine safety and efficacy. Wow. So there you go, folks. As we said all along, now we have more evidence of the criminal activity of the Biden regime in censoring Americans in violation of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And I read, once again, no ambiguity whatsoever in this amendment to the Constitution. The First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, in other words, no Church of England, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, in other words, freedom to worship, also violated under the Trump and Biden regimes, or abiding the freedoms of speech, abridging the freedoms of speech or of the press. Well, they abridge freedom of speech by censoring content and pressuring private companies to be agents of a corrupt government censoring us. No, they didn't, Nick. They didn't omit Twitter. This is specifically data about those three actors. We already know about Twitter. That's already been revealed. Well, Joe Biden has a black problem. That's right. Joe Biden has a black problem. That's right. Sure does. Joe Biden is not connecting with black voters, and it will be a disaster for the chaka chip in chief. Biden faces challenges in motivating young black Americans who have soured on his pathetic presidency. Black Americans' desire to vote in this year's election is down sharply compared with 4 years ago. A potentially troublesome sign for Biden, whose ascent was powered by black voters in 2020 and who has intensified efforts to court them before November's election. A poll of more than 1,300 black adults finds 62% of black Americans say they're absolutely certain to vote, down from 74% in June of 2020. The 12 percentage point drop outpaces the 4-point drop among Americans overall from 72 to 68%. Younger black Americans are less certain they will vote this year. Black adults overall, 74% say they'll vote. In 2020, 62 now. But those who are 18 to 39, that core demographic that helped that scumbag become president, 61% in 2020, 41% today. Wow. The softening support includes voters like Michaela Crumble, who said she held her nose and voted for Biden in 2020 and still cringes when she remembers Biden saying in the midst of the 2020 campaign, if an African-American voter was having trouble deciding between him and Donald Trump, then you ain't black. 4 years after voting for Biden to stop Trump, the 26-year-old student from St. Louis has left Biden's camp altogether. I think it's maybe because of the way the economy is going, yada, yada. No, it's because he's a disaster. That's why. Start telling the truth. 3 out of 4 black voters say they will definitely or probably vote for Biden. However, 16% they're definitely not going to vote for him, and 9% say probably not vote for him. That represents 25% of black voters who say they're not going to vote for Joe Biden. That's a disaster for this clown. An absolute disaster. Boeing will launch the Starliner tonight, and I'll cover that on the channel. Live broadcast, assuming the weather holds up. Starliner, Boeing's attempt to join the field of space tourism, is having its first manned flight more than a decade in the making. The crew test flight for Boeing's long-running CST-100 Starliner is finally here. After scheduled May 1st launch was pushed back a few weeks ago, Monday should be the day for Boeing's space exploration moonshot. Well, there you go. Scheduled launch of NASA astronauts at 10:34 local time from Cape Canaveral tonight. First time the Starliner's had a manned flight. It's headed to the International Space Station and coming back. So for those looking for a kaboom, God forbid, it'll be 4 a.m., 4:30 in the morning in South Africa, 3:30 in the UK. Columbia University has canceled its commencement address because of domestic terrorists. There you go. Ethiopian Jews for a free Palestine. Go back to Ethiopia. Columbia University has canceled its main commencement ceremony in favor of smaller-scale graduations. The ceremony, which is scheduled for May 15, has taken place outdoors on its New York City campus, but that is no longer possible. Columbia said it will still go ahead with smaller ceremonies for its different schools, including nursing, journalism, and teaching schools. Well, kowtowing to terrorists. Well done to Columbia. Another reason why you shouldn't waste your money going to schools like that. McDonald's and other fast food joints are struggling with the inflation economy. Earnings reports from some of the biggest food companies have highlighted struggles with higher prices, labor shortages, and many other issues in the Biden economy. Inflation has fallen far from its 2022 peaks, but remains elevated, frustrating the Federal Reserve's efforts to keep interest rates high. Consumers are somewhat optimistic, but worried about inflation. No kidding. No kidding. Consumers are spending. They're just being really careful about what they spend and how they spend it. Well, I'm not spending squat because I can't afford to. It's too expensive. Howard Schultz, the former leader of Starbucks, who left and came back and restored the company to its luster, is arrogantly telling us the problem is the customer experience. No, dingbat. The problem is $7.47 for a frickin' Frappuccino that should cost $2.99. That's the problem. That's why I no longer go to Starbucks. Yeah, it's not the customer experience. It is your pricing. Former CEO calls on focus on customer experience in a post after the company's earnings miss. Howard Schultz said the coffee giant needs to renew its focus on its own shortcomings after they delivered disappointing earnings results. He said in a LinkedIn post on Sunday that Starbucks should start by improving its U.S. operations, which were the primary reason for the company's fall from grace. The stores require a maniacal focus on the customer experience through the eyes of a merchant. The answer does not lie in data, but in the stores. No, the answer lies in your ridiculous prices. The 70-year-old Schultz, who was once considered a presidential candidate for the Democrats, has encouraged Starbucks to keep its focus on the soul of the brand and spoke about his travels to China to promote the company. Starbucks did not immediately respond for comment. Well, I'll respond for comment as a shareholder of Starbucks. Stop selling $8 cups of coffee. It's ridiculous. People can't afford that. Local attention here. Governor Josh Shapiro, the man who failed to uphold the rule of law and committed crimes during the 2020 choosing by failing to uphold the rule of law and also not taking action against none other than Larry Krasner in Philadelphia as the Attorney General, was elected governor in 2022. Well, he is abusing that office. No end of that in sight. Governor Shapiro uses Pennsylvania's state plane much more than his predecessor, who was also a Democrat. The 2-engine, 8-seat Beechcraft King Air 350i took off from a small regional airport across the Susquehanna River from Pennsylvania's state capital at 3:22 p.m. on August 17th. After a 2-hour flight, it arrived at Hilton Head in South Carolina, a ritzy vacation spot known for beaches and golf courses, to meet its passenger, Governor Josh Shapiro. The next day, the plane left Hilton Head for a flight to Pennsylvania, bringing Shapiro to Scranton. It deposited him back in South Carolina a little before 3 p.m. One last 2-hour flight returned the plane to Harrisburg, where it arrived at 5:40. The 4-leg journey cost taxpayers just over $13,000 and was the longest and most expensive 113 trips the Pennsylvania state-owned plane made during Shapiro's first year in office. First year in office, the plane flew 113 times. Are you frickin' serious? Unbelievable. All told, the plane accrued more than 9 days of flight time, ferrying Shapiro, Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis, Attorney General Michelle Henry, and other state officials around the Commonwealth and around the country. The total bill for taxpayers was $410,000, most that they've paid for state flights since 2011. Wow. Wow. Anyway, unbelievable. I can't use cars like the rest of us do. Shame, shame, shame. And there you have it, folks. There's the news for today. Got through that pretty quickly because we had interviews today. Let me get to the comments here and see what people had to say. Did you hear the building George collapse? Freelance Kate, you were a bit late. I've covered this extensively. I covered it live as it was breaking several hours ago when we were getting a late appearance by Athol Trollope, who had trouble with the signal. So I went live with the broadcast telling people about that building collapse in George. I also covered it at the beginning of this broadcast as well. You've tuned in late, but thank you for coming just the same. Okay, what else? A couple of West Air folks, the Stellenbosch Air Show. Yep. What kind of plane was that crashed here in Seattle? The new term is, if it's Boeing, I'm not going. Yeah, well, I got you. Sasha from the Stormers should be newcomer of the year. Sasha Feinberg, Ungumzulu. Yeah, I think so, because Monty Libick is not the newcomer. Maybe last year, but not this year. I agree. Sasha Feinberg, Ungumzulu should have been the newcomer of the year. Yep. MK is a Trojan horse. You are correct. Okay. What else? What else am I missing here? You guys are chatting with each other. Yeah, they've not put Joe in a home for Alzheimer's. Yep. And Nick Groves gave a super chat of 14 Rand saying, why not? Well, thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. Why not? Yeah, Pick Jacobs is here. There is the super chat. Pip says, keyboard failure. What happened? 321. Huh? $8 for coffee, yeah. Well, I paid $7.47 for a Frappuccino. That is just absolutely outrageous. I have dropped the number of them I buy by 2/3. I mean, you're going to keep raising the prices. I can only enjoy it occasionally. I mean, I don't know what planet these people think we're on. We can't afford this stuff. It's just ridiculous. All right, so where else are we at here? Manoj says, Dems, both parties need to do more for African Americans besides threats and symbolism. No, I don't think so. I don't think so, Manoj. I don't think so. I don't think African Americans are special and deserve any more special treatment than any other American. Jews, Muslims, Christians, whites, blacks, Asians, nobody gets special treatment. That's nonsense. Utter nonsense. Democrats and Republicans need to do more for Americans, not for black Americans, for Americans. And by definition, black Americans will benefit from that because they are Americans. Just like the whole canard about African American history. There's no such thing as African American history. It's American history. Queer history. It's not queer history. It's American history. Lesbian history. There's no such thing. It's American history. Simple as that. Or world history. Take your pick. Fish are making the kids gay, says Matthew Dixon. Really, Matthew? Where's your evidence of that? Yep. Plastics are polymers. Monomers make up plastics. Hence, so small after breakdown, we get microplastics. Oh, yeah, we definitely get microplastics. That's for sure. Okay, what else have I missed here? What is Frisco? I have no idea what the hell that is. Human history, Grasshopper says, yep. Yep. Having a cold one's been away from the live. I see nothing has changed. Great, divisive, unbiased content. Decisive. Oh, decisive. Yeah. No, thank you, Nick. I was wondering where you've been. I haven't seen you lately. Missed your presence here, but I've noticed you've been on today, so thanks a lot for being here. Yeah, folks, be sure to hit that like button if you don't mind. Wow, am I way behind over here? In my studio, it was way behind. So there we go. Now I've caught up. Several minutes behind. It's crap coffee. It's chicory. Oh, chicory coffee. No, I don't like coffee to begin with, so I can't imagine drinking chicory coffee. Yeah, no. If you know the history of coffee, it's fascinating how it was made, how people use substitutes for it throughout history. It's fascinating. Athol Trollope was a little confused about what I was drinking in this bottle. He said it knocked off his signal. He was joking. To get more people to find your channel, have you thought about doing rugby reaction videos? Seems very popular. I don't know what you mean by rugby reaction video, Hernares. What do you mean by that, a rugby reaction video? What is a rugby reaction video? Yeah, Frisco. Well, that's the name you guys call it. That's just instant coffee is what we call it. Folgers, Folgers crystals. Yeah, that's what we call it, instant coffee. Yep. So they're freeze dried. Paid $9 for one of those at Hotel Markup. Oh yeah, Arctic, I hear you. Yep, that's right. You go to a hotel, or I bought Frappuccino in a hotel one time because it's the only thing around, and it was 9 something too. It's crazy. The rugby action is when the Bucks lose. You make a 2-hour documentary on how the cock the ref was. That's good. I like that, Arctic. Yeah, but I want to hear what he means by it. So please tell me. Yeah, I want to hear what Rizda has to say about what you consider a reaction video. Somebody missed Matthew. That has to be a first, Debbie. It has to be a first. No one's ever missed Matthew before. If they win in 30 minutes on how cock the other team was. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about that. Freeze dried. Now cocoa price is through the roof. Kidneys need squeeze. What? Oh, he's got to go spend a penny. No, I don't have my passport yet. I don't have my passport. Also, I haven't got my federal tax return yet, which I need to pay my credit card bill. I'm going to run into trouble. Oh, his snarky comments you missed. Okay. Well, Rizla is not telling me what he means by a reaction video. A reaction video to me is like when someone plays a song like, Tom McDonald song, and you play it, and then you comment on it, and you see people's reaction to it. And TikTok, a lot of Black Americans are doing reaction videos to the Bee Gees, Yeah, so it's funny to see that. They have no idea. CIA took my passport. It was a rough 3 weeks. The CIA took your passport. I doubt that. CIA doesn't take passports. That would be immigration. Yeah. You land for change. Anything exciting out there in your travels? Your smart name is now Smith. By the way, folks, I watched the other night, Anonymous Lex, we meet again. Where have you been, Anonymous? I watched the other night Matrix Resurrections. I guess I didn't realize that there was, clock is not 3 minutes behind Swiss time. No, my clock is 100% on. It's 1:06, and it's 1:06 on that clock. Yeah, so I watched Matrix Resurrections. I didn't even know there was a fourth Matrix film out. I don't know what I was doing. It must have come out during COVID or something. Anyway, I watched it. It was not bad. It was better than I expected. I also watched a movie that was filmed in 2015 and not released until 2017. But now, because Netflix has picked it up, it's gaining traction. And that is a film with Matt Damon called The Great Wall, which I was like, please. Some white dude going to China on the Great Wall was actually not a bad movie. I enjoyed it. Pretty good CGI. Yep. Creating my own jobs because there's use of government. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, Anonymous Lex. Yep. Useless government. Flew Nikki Haley's. Wasn't allowed to watch me for a month. That's funny. When you react to rugby clips from Die Hard Rugby, biggest hits. Oh yeah, okay, I got what you're saying. No, I hadn't thought about doing it. It's artificial to me. I mean, I'm actual rugby fan. I'm not some know nothing from the NFL. Yeah, It's a shame that the NFL is dead to me, or I would do NFL commentary. I thought about doing hockey like I do for rugby. I've thought about doing that. But anyway, I haven't done it yet. Become a gnome gardener. What is that, a gnome gardener? Oh, Arctic found the second Biden supporter in America. Yeah, there's a couple of them out there. Big Mike Profits for Netflix. That's funny. How untouchable these companies are. Well, yeah, you say that, but they're all touchable at some point when they run afoul of the politicians. They're all touchable. Just ask Ken Lay. Just ask LDS, long distance, LDDS, which became WorldCom. Yep, and they locked up its founder. Pink hair and drove the beer in Chicago. I drove the Uber with clothes that were about 6 sizes too small. Hey, well, 6 sizes too small. Anonymous says, I've never been so desperate in election month. I'm legit begging staff and friends to vote, even offering to give them chairs if the lines are long. Wow. There you go. Well, hopefully people do go vote. South Africans have like many people around the world, have a history of not showing up for elections. So we'll see what happens. Scroogle. This is Brian Lawrence instead of Google. That's funny. You guys will kill me. Frickin' Lotto is not cooperating. You're not winning? Is that the point, Charles? You're not winning? Last night I watched some old Columbos. I love Columbo, man. But it was the second season. A little awkward start. That first story wasn't that good. The second wasn't that great. Had Richard Basehart in it. And Honor Blackman. Honor Blackman, former Bond girl. She played Pussy Galore. What a name for a character, Pussy Galore. Yes, Peter Falk, but it was spelled differently. Yep. So that second, it's teasing me. A little zeros at the end of winnings. Oh, gotcha. Talking about the lotto again. Yep. Yeah, no, well, I don't play the lotto. If you don't play, you can't win, and that's fine with me. I'm not trying to win. Back when the UK was still had a sense of humor. Yep. Like the what? Afrikaans word for cute and cuddly. The new Afrikaans word for cute and cuddly. What's the new? Yep. Peter Falk. That's the correct spelling there. Yep. F-A-L-K. Falk, which is the German spelling. Falk is the English spelling with a U in it. Like Robert Faulkner. Yeah, so Peter Falk, F-A-L-K. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a role made for him. He was bringing it. He had a lot of idiosyncrasies that were part of the character. His cigar, his trench coat, his shoes, his crappy Peugeot, how he always knew the answer. He already knew who the guilty was the moment he showed up. He figured it out, and he did. He figured it out. Like in the episode I saw, the guy murdered a woman and dropped his carnation. Then he showed up at the scene, and he picked up the carnation and put it on, but the footage shows him leaving the scene with the carnation, but performing at a concert before that without the carnation. So, yeah, it's, yeah. Oh, okay. Really? That means cute and cuddly? That's interesting to know. All right. Wasn't Mark Oppenheimer shouted at, rudely and treated? Yes, he was. Anonymous Lex says, it's been almost 2 years since I watched, seen a lot of new names. Wow, Anonymous Lex, where have you been for 2 years? And thank you for coming back. Wow, that's good to see you back here. A lot of people disappeared. They're not around. I'm still here. In the meantime, I've run for political office and lost badly. Spent a lot of my personal money. I refused donations so that only I took the risk. And instead of a honorable person of integrity who is the best qualified and the most dedicated, they voted for the shill. Anyway, do a reaction vid to the Rammstein song Zeit. Oh, yeah. Well, that's not a question, Charles. I love Columbo, yeah. Stop reporting to the CIA. Yeah. Honor Blackman was a real gal. Oh, yes, she was. And she was hot. Other one I watched was with what's her name? Oh gosh, what is her name now? Can't think of it right now. I've drawn a blank. Oh, Shallow Hal's, the actress, her mother. What's her name? Anyway. Wow, you did? That had to... They didn't rig the election. Getting tired of these words. Yeah, no, they didn't rig the election. Just that the whole thing was corrupt. And I learned an awful lot about politics, and it cost me a lot of money. No, not Ursula Andress. Come on, what's the heck's her name? Hang on a second. Shallow Hal cast. What's her name? Gwyneth Paltrow's mother. Ble Danner. Ble Danner. Yeah, she was in it. Ble Danner. She was very attractive when she was young. Old Ble Danner. Yep. What a name, Ble Danner. Yeah. 600 grams lighter. What's that? Just couldn't stand Murder, she wrote. Yeah, I know. I didn't care for Murder, she wrote either. It was never my cup of tea. Never my cup of tea. Matthew wants to know when I'm buying groceries because he needs a new home. Well, I've got a medical appointment here in an hour and 45 minutes, but it only takes me about 30 minutes to get there, so I don't have to disappear quite yet. Invasion of red ants. Wow, red ants suck. Every spring I get an invasion of ants in the house, but a tricky way to get rid of them is to pour super glue into the cracks where they keep coming through. They can't eat through it. They have a hard time, so they have to take a different path, and they wind up changing their path, which is good. But every year. Falk, the German sock magnet, has a wine estate here in Stellenbosch. Oh, by the Muiberg. Pearl Ruan is giving a super chat. Wow. Says, I'm still here, 48 degrees Celsius at the moment in Thailand. I'd like to donate this money for a ticket for the Gays for Gaza group that wants to go over to Gaza. The Gays for Gaza, yep. Anonymous Lex says, anyway, I've been trying to get my startups off the ground for the past years. I learned more than I wanted to, especially in the tender system ANC uses not to start debate. But by God, it's racist one side. Of course it is, Anonymous Lex. And the world looks the other way at the racism and bigotry and hatred of the ANC. There's the Pararuan super chat from Thailand. Thank you for that. YouTube keeps buffering. They're yanking my chain, not even buying me a drink. Yeah, I know. Louis Liebenberg. What about Louis Liebenberg? What about Louis Liebenberg? Almost for homicide in Palestine, says Matthew Dixon. Well, yeah, I mean, the Gays for Gaza, not a very bright position to be in. Try being gay in Gaza and see what happens to you. Yeah, not a good idea. There's some really stupid people out there, folks. Really, really stupid people. I mean, a lot of stupid people. It's shocking how many stupid people are out there in the world. Yep. It truly is. So if you missed it earlier, we had an interview with Athol Trout, the former mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay, as a member of the Democratic Alliance, and now the provincial chairman for Action SA in Eastern Cape. Fantastic conversation. By the way, my last three guests have been very polite and complimentary of me. I'm really kind of them. Neil De Beers said some really nice things about me. Said I'm an echte Boer, a genuine Boer. That's my words in German and English, not Afrikaans. Then today we had Athol Trout, who said some very nice things about me, as well as Donald Brown. So thank you to all of my guests for that. Tomorrow we have Mark Oppenheimer back on the program. Mark, of course, is a constitutional advocate and now the president of the Institute of Race Relations in South Africa. That's tomorrow. And we'll also have another Action SA candidate tomorrow as well. So that's pretty exciting. Hope you guys tune in for that. Cadfael was a great detective series with Derek Jacobi. There's another one called Bergerac from back in the 1970s. Not a bad show, based in the Channel Islands. Pretty good stuff. You handle them very well, but you are always polite to your guests, even if you disagree with their viewpoint. Yeah, no, I mean, I did bring up, John Jarvis had a question about the depiction of people as being illegal, and I think the language needed to be clarified. I didn't get a chance to ask that of Robert King, but I did put that question to Donald Brown, and he answered it. Ask Mark about Cape secession, but on the premise that all lawyers work for free. Yeah, we'll see how that goes over. All right, folks, I'm going to take a break here and done for the day unless there's breaking news. I do have a few videos to make, but I haven't got around to it. I'm not getting much love for the videos that I put the time into. Today there was a response. It was respectful. It was polite. I'm not personally attacking the person, but the comments were really out there. So thanks to C Anonymous Lex. Good to see you back here again. Pararuan, also good to see you as well. Thank all of you for being here. Be sure to hit the like button, and thank you for your support. Really appreciate it. Debbie says, watch that video today. Very good, Neil DeBeer, and you're short today blaming the DA for Cape Town shortcomings. Yeah, yep. It's not an endorsement of the DA. It's just an endorsement of the truth. So there you go. Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourself. Good to seeing you all again. And have a lovely evening. Tomorrow, Mark Oppenheimer and our Action SA candidate. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for being here.